Awesome. Welcome to See What She Can Do Conversations, the podcast. I'm Tina Finelli, and I'm here with my co-host, Lisa Dunbar.
Hey, guys.
Today we have guests Corey McCusker. She is a human and canine coach. Corey's passion for humans and dogs led her to jump ship on her corporate job and start her own two companies, one that focuses on mental performance for high performance teams and business leaders, and the other that focuses on coaching canines, and of course they're humans because they go hand in hand. Welcome, Corey.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
And we also have my dear friend, Catherine Kurtz. We call her Kate. She's a fellow dog lover, and she has personally experienced the amazing programming that Corey has put out there with Mutts with Manners, her canine training program. She's experienced the joy and the connection and the confidence that comes when you're so fully connected with your pet. So welcome, Kate. We're happy to have you here too.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm looking forward to the discussion today.
Amazing.
It's fun, and I think we are all dog owners. I have a golden doodle, Minnie, Abby, and Tina has two dogs as well. So this is all, and we're both obviously sport enthusiasts and believe in the power of sport. So the conversation should be, we'll try not to cut each other off too much, but
it'll be
really
fun. We were just saying prior to the to joining our call here how we were all possibly seeking Corey's intervention around dog activity during the day as we're all working from home and our dogs decide to play in the middle of a conference call. So we're happy to have you here to share some tips with us, Corey.
Yeah, for sure. Great. If I could start things off, I'm just curious, and if you could share with everybody, Corey, your journey and how sport has impacted your life.
Okay. So my journey with sport, well, I can talk about sports. I play, well, right now I don't, but I am an avid hockey lover, and I have played ice hockey, didn't start till my 40s. And I also have been playing floor hockey for 15 years. And my journey is really, I was a corporate banker and I was completely burnt out. I did not really have time for sports during a 22 years I was in the corporate world. The only activity I really did was probably rushing around in my car or running around from branch to branch or meeting to meeting. But I did manage to fit floor hockey in there because there was a women's league. But I was a corporate banker that was burnt out. And then when I actually, let's say, semi-retired and started my own two businesses, and they were more hobbies and to fill my time, 14 years ago, I actually had the time to get involved in more sports. And that's where more golfing, walking a lot more with my friends. And that's what the dogs, when I say I wasn't involved with sports for 22 years, the dogs were actually my sport, my activity, because I did a lot of walking with them. And that's what actually got my fitness exercise. But when I did leave the bank, the burnout, I just knew that the activity, the physical activity was so important for me to help my mental ability too. Because I think when you work and you have no fun or play or exercise, it really does affect you, not just physically, but mentally too.
You and everyone around you, generally, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Now, what's the connection? Maybe talk a little bit about how you came to starting your two companies. And I find it really interesting that you're coaching, on mental performance, and then you're coaching, on the canine side of things, or, dog training. Of course, when you're dog training, you're training the people mostly as well, right?
Definitely.
So how do those two things come to be, and do you see any intersection? Is there crossover?
100%. And you know what? I kept them very separate because I had a mindset when I left the corporate world that I was a banker, and that's what I was always known to be. I had a very successful career. So when I left, the coaching business came naturally, and it was really started out with coaching business leaders and that, because that's what I did in the corporate world. I coached highly successful teams or executives. And then when I went into business on my own, I started it out just helping people. I mean, there was a number of modalities that I had trained in, such as neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, I mean, brain gym, there's a million of them. But I started helping executives that were burnt out like me. And then what had happened is, because I got involved in the sports, because I have the time now, people were asking me about helping their kids with anxiety or helping them have more focus. And that's where it evolved into being more sports focused, where I did a number of years researching sports psychology and that's where I got into working with young athletes between 13 and 17, and still supporting the high performing adults too. But my dog business was strictly a hobby. And I have always loved dogs. I've always been involved with dogs, volunteer wise. And I always wanted to be a veterinarian when I was young. So when I left the corporate world, I had the opportunity to go work at one of the local vets. And I had taken a dog instructor program because I'm a sponge for knowledge. And I was rescuing dogs where they had a lot of challenges. They had either fear or aggression. So I decided, hey, why not just get the knowledge myself instead of paying for all these trainers to help me? And that's when I went to work at the vet clinic. They saw that I had taken this program, and I really was only applying at the vet clinic to fill my mornings with something to do that I loved. But they said, can you set up your dog training here? We want a dog trainer to offer to our clients. And I'm like, sure, let's do it. So 14 years ago, I started Mutts with Manners and started working with owners. And I really did realize it was not the dogs that I was helping. It was really the owners and coaching them. And my coaching background just assisted with identifying what their needs are, the personalities. And then the dogs were easy to figure out, but everybody's got a different personality. Some have very strong personalities, some very soft. So I was using my mental performance and coaching ability to help these owners with their dogs in order to get them to give the message to the dog that was needed in order to get the result. So that's kind of how it happened.
That's amazing. Well, and Kate and I have both been recipients of your program, I must say. And my daughter has as well. So our first dog, Ginger, 10 years old, went into camp with Joanna when she was young. And then my recent puppy, Kate and I both have puppies the same age, dogs the same ages. We both got them around the same time. We're puppy pals for sure. And so then we've recently been to puppy training there. Like, Kate, you want to talk a little bit about your experience there?
Yep. So I'm happy to. How I met Corey was actually through Tina, like Tina mentioned. And we had just gotten a new puppy who was primarily my daughter's dog. She was 12 at the time. Oh my goodness, 12 at the time. Time flies. Anyway, Allison, we got the puppy for our family because there was a lot of changes going on. My older girls were going away to university. And I felt like we needed something that would get us out of the house, would give Allison some responsibility. And I heard about Corey's training program for kids and their dogs. This was the amazing part about it, was that you could take your child and their dog to summer camp, and there was enough staff there to help. They would actually coach both, right? Coach the child on how to raise a puppy and coach the puppy on how to behave. And it was a phenomenal experience. And seeing that confidence grow in my daughter, and she is unbelievable in how she handles the dogs, but also how that confidence translates into her schoolwork or her adult interactions, or, just going into other situations has been really rewarding to see.
That's super cool. And in preparing for today and doing some research, it's hard not to think. Like, I always think of, I have some friends who have kids with autism and who have gotten dogs to help manage anxiety, and game changer, like life-changing relationship between the dogs and those kids, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We call our puppy.
Well, and I think,
go ahead, Kate.
I think our pets, not just our dogs, but our, people who have cats, or like I grew up training horses, I think our pets give us unconditional love. So it's not as complicated because there's no nuance of language. There's no nuance of other things going on. It's very easy to kind of confide in them, and then they'll just, you take care of them and they'll pour it back to you in affection and support. And I think that's the critical element, especially during this pandemic. Right?
Absolutely. And Corey, have you Have you seen dramatic changes in pet owners that have come in from when they've come in to when they've left in terms of the impact that animals have made on their lives?
100%, yes. And again, you know, our goal is to help the owners build the confidence in the owners to get the results in the dog. And with the kids, I mean, that's where, Kate, you mentioned Allison coming. One of the reasons we started the Kids and Canine program was to just help these kids build confidence. Someone mentioned, you know, I think Lisa, you mentioned autism. We've had kids that have never gone to camp before, whether they're mildly autistic or they are just so, they've got anxiety or whatever. And when they come, they have their best friend there, their dog, and we've watched them grow with the confidence. I've also seen owners come where they're just so overwhelmed with, you know, a new puppy and all the things that have to do with it. And to just watch them to see the success they have with their dog and develop, you know, their dog's all of a sudden listening to them and doing things that it builds their confidence. And, you know, it's just showing them that they can do it. Because a lot of people are like, well, no, you do it. I get so many people that call and just say, just train my dog. I'm like, you know what, I can train your dog easily, but once I hand you back the dog,
you come live with me too, please.
Yeah, it's not actually how it works.
Yeah, it really is. I think, you know, there's so many things that the pets bring to the human's life. And I mean, that's where we've talked about, you touched on anxiety and stuff. I mean, look at today, what's going on. It's crazy. And those dogs are getting people out. That's the one thing I see is people out walking their dogs at least. So, you know.
Do you feel like you have a bit of a tsunami coming at you with all these COVID puppies coming home and people?
You know what? It is. I opened a business. I opened the bricks and mortar business, the Mutts with Manners. I took on this big venture to open the facility for training and everything because it's just evolving. And we opened December 19th last year, and, you know, it was a tough haul. And then COVID hit. Well, the daycare, COVID has actually helped our business because everybody went out and got dogs, and they're working from home and their dogs are driving them crazy and they're trying to do Zoom calls and they can't or whatever. So it's actually, but what we've been seeing is the COVID puppies, we call them, is they're scared. They're not socialized. So the daycare really provides a daycare, and we were able to bring back the training in very small groups. So it's been able to get them really socialized and build the confidence too.
Yeah,
and help the owners when they're working in this environment too.
I have a girlfriend who, she's a very good friend, and she's gotten a pretty good sized dog, and she was on a Zoom call with work, and she has set up in her kitchen, or her, like, at her kitchen table, which is open to a bit of a galley kitchen, and she literally was looking at her screen and could see her Burma doodle on the counter behind her. And she is crate training the dog, but my response was, maybe you might want to put the dog in the crate.
It's one of my favorite things, though. It's one of my favorite things to be on a call, on a work call, and then you see someone's cat come across the screen,
so
or you see their dog jump up. You know what? It reminds us all that everybody's dealing with a lot right now, and it gives a moment of levity to the situation.
Yeah.
I've numerous times thanked my team for being so patient with the dog's barking, and I have a trigger finger on the mute button. I think I've already done it twice on this podcast, actually.
But don't you feel that, I mean, we were just having this conversation on our last podcast, like, don't you feel that people are so much more human now and accepting of, it doesn't have to be perfect silence. Yeah. We have kids, we have dogs. You've got, you know, I've got an Amazon guy coming to my door pretty much every day in the middle of a conference call, especially now, right, over the holidays. Yeah. So your team, I'm sure, is very accepting because I'm sure they have the same things happening in their own homes too, right?
Yeah. And I think it's, Corey, thank you for sharing your experience, because I think that it's hard not to think about where we are today. And we're 9 months into COVID. And I think there are quite a few people who are either rediscovering sport and how much positivity it brings to their lives, and rediscovering new sports. But there's also a lot of people who, through COVID, whether they've been restructured or laid off or whatever, are discovering second or possibly third careers. And I think it's a silver lining in this. Like, people are discovering the things that matter. And I think the mix that you have is so fantastic, and it's really cool.
Can you?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
sorry, someone didn't want to cut someone up.
You go ahead, Corey.
Well, no, and you know, my journey, I never knew what I was going to, like when I left the bank, it was 22 years ingrained in me, and I did not know where I was. Like, I mean, I had an idea of, yeah, I'll start a business, but when you've been in a corporate world for 22 years, very structured, you get the paycheck every 2 weeks. It's a little bit challenging. But one of the things I have seen is, and especially women starting second careers, or even with this, is starting different ways of looking at what their hobbies or their interests are and making them happen too. And some of them I've seen with fitness too. It's like, I know people that, okay, let's talk about the fitness and the sports. We would go to the gym, or we couldn't go to the gym. So everybody, you know what? Hey, we can do it online. We can do it virtually. There's always a way to do something. So it's figuring it out. And I've seen a lot of my colleagues or friends that are now successful at doing, where they were thinking of doing an online, fitness program, but fearful of doing it. Well, guess what? You just got thrown into it. If you want to do fitness, this is the way to do it at this time. So it's been really interesting to see how people are evolving even with their fitness now. And I don't think you can even get treadmills or things or anything, because everybody's going to walk them all.
Yeah. So what part do you see, Corey? I know, part of your business is around mental performance. So what part do you see, mental strength or performance mentally as influencing physical performance and success? Like what's the tie between the two?
So when I'm looking at peak performance, let's just talk about somebody operating at their best performance, I look at 4 areas. I look at the physical, I look at the technical skills that they need, I look at the tactical, their knowledge of the lay of the land, and then I look at the mental. So they all play a role. The one thing, and I say this with my athletes, is most successful athletes will tell you that 80% of their success is mental and 20% is the physical and tactical. But most people spend 80% of the time on the physical and the technical, and the mental is where the breakdown is. That's where, when you lack the focus, if you have anxiety, if you have an injury that you're recovering from, the mental part can get in the way and stop you from performing. So all of them combined is what's going to be the most important, but the mental part of it is, and when I break down the mental, I break it down into 8 components. I'm looking at your confidence. I'm looking at, are you able to relax? Do you have the motivation? Are you able to deal with distractions? Can you focus? Are you able to mentally rehearse in your mind those performances? And are you having fun? And are you setting goals? I mean, a lot of people go into slumps, and it's why it could be burnout. So the mental part of it is key. And it's one part that is really forgotten a lot of the times.
And are you training?
It's an interesting.
Go ahead, Kate.
I was trying to say, it's an interesting point, Corey, because one of the biggest things I've noticed with my teams at work is, with everyone working from home, it's very hard to separate from work to home, right? Mm-hmm. To have that mental break, to cut a line in your day. And actually, I use walking the dog as my commute to work. So every morning before I start work, I walk the dog and I commute to work. And every day when I leave work, I walk the dog and I commute home.
I love that.
And you know what? That's perfect.
But I had to create it, because otherwise the work noise of my day, like the things I was thinking about from work, carried over into my family life. I wasn't getting that space.
Mm-hmm. That's a fabulous idea.
Work. So I think that's interesting what you're talking about on the mental impacts and the focus that you need. Mm-hmm. Definitely applicable to many right now.
Many.
Absolutely. Many. Wow. And are you training coaches too? I mean, to Kate's point, this is a great, obviously this is why you do well on the business side of, your business, Corey, but, from on the athletic side of things, are you this would be a valuable tool to teach coaches, right?
Yeah, I actually, I am part of the Coaching Association of Ontario. So that's all sports. And they have a program, I guess I've been involved for 5 years. It's the Mental Express now, it's called. So you are able to sign up if you have a team and you're part of the association. You can sign up for whatever you need, if it's nutrition, sports psychology, strength conditioning, and I'm one of their mental experts on the sports psychology. So I actually do work. They usually assign me one coach, and I do work with other coaches and teams, but I usually get one. This year I got 3 So I was like, okay, I can do it. Don't worry about it, because it's all virtual now. I used to go out and work with the teams and that, but now it's virtual. So I said, okay, I can manage that with my schedule. So, and it's I love working with the coaches, especially when they've initiated it and they sign up for it, because it's the piece that is so forgotten. And they want, like when I go through the program, it's things that they know and they're aware of. They just don't have the techniques to apply it to their athletes. So I have a program that I've developed that I'll go through with them, and they can help their athletes then. So
now, Kate, you rode pretty, at a very high level in your youth. Did you, do you see strings of this kind of mental performance that were at play with you?
Absolutely. So I rode and trained dressage horses until I had kids. Then when I had kids, I kind of put aside that part of my life because it's very time intensive. But I rode to a fairly high level, competed nationally. And it's interesting, Corey, when you talk about the mental component, because, I can remember vividly when I was earlier in my training career with horses, if I didn't have peace in my brain, if I approached a horse and I had a lot of noise, stress from the day, anxiety, whatever else was going on, you could see it reflected right back at you. And you could know even before you got on them and started working that you were going to have a bad ride. You weren't going to achieve the goals. So I learned a lot of techniques to help settle my mind. The dogs are the same way, actually. If you're, stressed out, if you've yelled at your kids in the morning and then suddenly your dogs are chasing around the house barking, you kind of have to say, okay, mental check. What energy am I projecting? And how does that affect? So I feel like animals surface that back to you quicker than humans do. Humans do it too. Like if I marched into Tina's house and I was having a bad day and I was all spiky with frustration,
I would hand you a glass of wine. Right
Tina would react with mental things. But depending on the person, they might react back with that spiky frustration and not even know they're doing it, right? So that's where that mental and learning your mental state and how it affects others, it just surfaces faster in animals.
Absolutely. Right? Okay, I'm going to stop us right now because this is a totally fascinating conversation. We'll end on the glass of wine and go for a commercial break, and then we'll come right back, okay? Hang in there.
Hey everybody, welcome to Conversations in Aurora with Neighbor. My name's Sean, I'm your host. I'm really excited to dive deep into our community, getting on local musicians, business owners, entrepreneurs, non-for-profits, event organizers, everyone in our community, all of our neighbors getting together for one big conversation to talk about what's going on in our community and what we can do to make it better. So stay tuned, we're going to have weekly episodes, and I can't wait to chat with you.
So welcome back, and though we're not drinking wine, it's a great idea. And we're talking about we're having an interesting conversation around coaching for athletes. And as you were speaking, I can't help but think about this. I always think of the two ends of the spectrum, right? There's the recreational athlete who has to have a certain mindset, especially I think of people who are taking on or learning new sports or trying new sports, to get over that mental hurdle of, oh, I can't do that. Like versus, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. Like it's scary as heck, and I find it even myself as I get older, like different sports that I try, like my first instinct, that negative Nancy person is, you're too old for this, or, so there's that end of the spectrum. And then I think of people who are in like your dressage at a higher level and competing at a really high level and haven't been exposed to the mental health and mental preparedness. And when you start playing a sport and you've invested so much time and energy and money, quite frankly, time to learn and love that sport, if it's you almost do yourself a disservice to not honor that mental health piece, because it does become the biggest source of opportunity for success, I think. Which is really cool.
Absolutely. Okay, I have an interesting question to ask, because I heard this little you kind of brushed over it really quickly, Corey, but you talked about hypnosis, and I'm interested in that for humans, but also whether or not it helps with dogs, like who have anxiety, or or do you have to create the imagery in order for it to work? Maybe that's a really dumb question, but I thought I'd ask it anyway.
So the question, repeat the question. It's not, no question's ever dumb. I just got to make sure I understand it.
Well, hypnosis
so
and how
you're saying with the hypnosis, it works with humans. Are you asking if it works with dogs?
Well, my question is more around hypnosis and how that can help with mental performance for humans, and then can that be translated? I'm guessing the answer is no, for dogs
Or training dogs.
or
People
training
train
dogs or dogs that have
Training dogs, well, it's mainly for humans.
yeah.
And hypnosis is really just a highly focused state. And what we use it. So I mean, we are in a hypnotic state every 90 seconds or whatever. I mean, if you think of yourself driving a car and you're listening to music, you're talking or whatever, you are not thinking about driving the car. You're just in a zone-like state and it happens. So that's where kind of it's a hypnotic state. So with hypnosis, what I use it for is just getting people into a very relaxed state and then providing suggestions or guidance or mental rehearsals is really what I use it. So I don't even, it's more of using the imagery and using their mind to get them to program themselves. Because, and it's so, I mean, you've heard of meditation right now, which many people do, and that's almost like hypnosis. So there's many ways of us to use relaxation techniques or guided meditations or mental rehearsals to access the mind and help either the mind relax or help program the mind. So,
and so when you're programming the mind, you're programming it with, I mean, one of the things we spoke with Silken Lauman a few weeks ago on one of our podcasts, that recording will be coming out soon, but she talked a lot about visualization and how, so for instance, when she had her massive injury, she visualized the healing over and over and over again. That's all she visualized. And the winning, right? So that was, she knew she was going to win. Like, it was just pretty amazing, right? So is that what you mean by kind of
that is
visualization?
Exactly what I'm talking about. I call it mental rehearsals. So think about when you physically practice something, you physically do it. When you are doing a mental rehearsal now, the reason it works when you are visualizing is we are tapping into the unconscious or subconscious part of the mind. I talk about this all the time, is I use an iceberg as an example. Many of you may have heard of this too, is, the iceberg has the tip of the iceberg and then it has a big chunk that we don't see. Well, the tip of the iceberg is our thoughts, our rational mind, our logical mind. It's basically the left brain. The big chunk of the iceberg underneath holds all of our values, the things that really drive what we do, our emotions, our behaviors, our belief systems. It holds all of our memories, and 90% of everything we do unconsciously. And when we are thinking thoughts or even imagining things, our unconscious mind is listening to that or absorbing it, and it doesn't know reality to fantasy. So if we are visualizing success, if we are visualizing us healing, and when I say visualizing, I want you to think more of imagery, because some people can see things, but some people might need to hear or feel, there's 5 senses, right? There's smelling, tasting, hearing, and all that. So the more you can tap into what you really want, and whether your eyes are open or closed, it doesn't matter. I can show you videos of people practicing certain performances, and then they actually do it. And those are high-level athletes. So when we imagine success or healing or, just feeling, our mind is taking that as a reality and wants to deliver it. And it knows how to run the body. It knows how to do everything. And that's why so many people, though, are running those negative programs. And we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and it's a cycle that just goes on. And in order to change that, it does take some conscious effort. But that's what I do with people all the time over months, is just change the programming that they've had throughout their life to get the results that they desire. And once you learn how to do it, it just becomes part of who you are, and your results become just so much better.
So it's interesting, Corey and Tina, as you talk about this. So I think most people that know me would say that I tend to be more of an anxious person. I put a lot of pressure on myself. Tina's laughing. But, I had to learn when I was competing with horses to do what Corey's talking about. I had to learn, and I would think of it as centering myself and visualizing that positive outcome. Yeah. Right. And I was pretty young. I was like 18, 19 years old, because if I got on the horse and I was all stressed out, then forget it. All bets were off. We were out of the dressage ring. We were off in the bushes.
Exactly.
But I I actually use that same thing
In my
now.
mind, I keep making analogies to a professional life, right? Like when you're like in
Yeah.
the same kind of exercise,
Well,
if you're not centered, you're
Yeah,
off in the
you're the
bushes, and so is
bushes.
the rest of your team if you're in a leadership position, right?
On your
Like,
horse.
Well, and
Exactly.
sometimes I have to do a number of updates to fairly senior people that I actually find it kind of stressful when I'm doing these updates because I think, oh my God, they're going to ask me a really hard question. When I have the time to visualize the outcome and center myself prior to the presentation, and I can actually sometimes do it pretty fast, like 5 minutes, my performance is so much better. I
That's an
slow down,
amazing.
I articulate, I project this confidence that
Exactly.
is better than if I rush from one thing right into the next. Then inevitably they sense that tension within me, and then it raises so many more questions. And I walk out going, oh, if only I'd said.
Well, and that's the joy, Kate, I think, of you having trained at a young age with horses because they're prey animals, and all animals do feel it, but I think more so like you're one with that animal, right? And it feels whatever you feel.
it's a big animal.
And it's a big animal. Yeah, you need to be well centered so that you're not in the bushes or over top of the horse's head or whatever that may look like, right?
Well, I think the other part with horses and dogs, and Corey, you chime in here, is you have to project this quiet confidence.
Yeah.
Like, I believe I'm right. So therefore, you as a dog should follow me.
Yes.
Or even that I'm in charge,
And I can
right?
see,
Yeah.
Allison do that. Allison was like, I am in charge, and the dogs just follow her.
Yeah.
And they are actually
that's so
more
true.
responsive.
Yeah.
And then she carries that. Sorry, Corey. I was going to say she carries it into her school life. Her teacher said, "Where did Allison learn to present like this? And where did she have that confidence?"
Corey McCusker.
No, it comes from within, though. I mean, I give them
I
the
agree.
tools; they can take it or they can leave it. But that's the beauty of the dogs, though, because when the kids come, I think you said it, Kate. It's unconditional.
Yeah.
Like the dogs just want to please. The tails wag. Like, just tell me what to do. They need the leadership. They need the direction. And so when the kids see the results that they get, it's just, they're like, wow, I can do this. I can, and it's success for them. So where they may not have had success in any other area. So it's good. It's great.
Well, and kudos to you, Kate, for choosing a program that would support, but also, give yourself some credit too. You're the mama bear. I'm sure you're helping coach her along the way too.
100%. Yeah.
It helps all of us, right?
Yeah.
Like, at the time that we met Corey, I was downtown, full time with a long day. And I knew that my two other daughters had gone away to university. So I knew Allison, even though she was old enough, was coming home on her own, right? And I wanted her to have someone to greet her, which is now Poppy, the dog. But also what happened was she loves walking the dog. She takes them out of the house. She meets all of our neighbors who are mostly retired. So in a really nice way, she's bringing sunshine to their lives by just like she's talking to them. She's talking to all these adults when she's walking her dog, about her school day. But they also get joy out of it or happiness because it's an interaction for them like that. And that translates directly into COVID times, right?
Yeah.
Our pets make us move out of the house when other things might not.
Oh my
Right?
goodness.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, Corey, tell us a little bit about the St. John's ambulance program, because that's something I've always been fascinated with as a young child, and even as an adult. When you go to the fairs and the dogs are there, I'm like, oh, look at these dogs. So tell us a little bit about that program and what it looks like and how people who need it can get involved, or how people who have dogs, it can be part of that.
Sure. So the St. John's Ambulance Dog Therapy Program I came across because one of the pups in our area, she wanted to take her dog to seniors' homes and hospitals to help. And I thought, it was great. And one of the other trainers I knew was doing it. And so I was very interested in doing it. And I had a beautiful pup, Fred, that could do anything. And I thought he'll be a great therapy dog. He loves people. He loves seniors. He was going with me to my step-grandfather's senior home to visit. And I just thought, how great is this? So I did become involved in it. I went through an evaluation, and Fred fortunately passed. And then we started visiting a home here in Stouffville. And the reward that I got from doing that, from walking in and seeing these seniors so lonely at the time, or just, sitting there and, their lives had changed drastically. But when Fred would walk in, they all would light up. They would all want to see him. He would sit on their lap. They would smile. They would sing to him. And it was just so rewarding. He loved it. And I just loved the program. And because I had started Mutts with Manners, there was also a part that I could get involved in to actually evaluate the dogs, whether they were ready to be a therapy dog. So I went through a program. I had to go to London. I remember it was in a snowstorm, and I went and had to do so many hours of actual evaluations. And then I was deemed an evaluator. So I started that program too. And I actually have on my radar to come up with a program to actually help people prepare for the test. So the St. John's and the program is amazing because not only does it help the seniors right now, again, COVID has stopped them. They're coming up with great ways to still visit the seniors without physically seeing them. They're going to do window visits, and they're doing videos for them and everything. So, but the other part of the program that I'm very interested in, but I will not be able to do it till I get another dog that can do it. But they also have taken it to victim services. So there's a part of where they're helping people that have been through, traumatic events where they have to go into court and they have to testify or they have to be there. And so the dogs are brought in to help when they get questioned, to help, whatever. Also, they are doing with the high schools when it's exam time and the exams are due, they're bringing the dogs in before the exam so they can help with the anxiety. So there's so many different avenues of it. It's just a wonderful program. All the people involved are volunteers, and they're just, just great people. The dogs that you see are just wonderful. So I'm very blessed to be a part of it. And I just think what the power of the dogs, what they can do for the young and for the old is just, I always say that, we're just blessed to have dogs in our lives or pets, whatever.
Do you think there are certain breeds that are more suited to doing the St. John's than others? Do you see a trend?
I've seen all different breeds. I wouldn't say there's one breed. It's a personality that we're looking for. We're looking for, a dog that enjoys interacting, that can be settled. And again, this goes to the owner on the end of the leash. We've got dogs that, are very excitable, but when you take them on a leash for a visit, they know exactly what they need to do and what they're allowed to do and not do. And that's why I want to make sure that I can support anybody that does want to go through the program, because I just think it's just so valuable to, all areas, like all different areas that it can help.
Abby, Poppy, Charlie, and Ginger. They're all on the program. Start it up. You got your first 4.
Let's see. And what we say, I've seen like senior dogs, like I'm talking 10, 11, 12 years old that they've gone through.
Yeah.
Or I've seen, and that's where we say usually wait till 2 because you know what puppies are like. Yes. And if with 2, they can be a little bit more calmer. So we are okay. I think Fred didn't go through till he was like 8 or 9 years old. So
that's really interesting because I've always thought my dog Abby would have been great for it, but I've said really for the last few years she's now getting to be too old. She's 12.
I think that's the best age. I would think.
But she's. I'm guilty of the other side where she's so patient and so great around people and dogs. When I have people with puppies, I'm like, you can bring your puppy over anytime.
Yeah.
Well, and another aspect of what Corey was saying is like when my dad was in palliative care, it was amazing to me. I brought my dogs in all the time to visit my dad and also the other people there, but the support workers, the nurses,
that's
the
true.
Staff, the doctors, some of them would just stop and hug my dog and cry. Like it brought something to them too. The funny thing is, and I remember one day vividly, I brought both my dogs into the Ottawa General Hospital. Now, I have no idea if dogs are allowed in the hospital.
Okay, I'll tell you right now, no, unless they've been gone through the program.
I know, but not one person stopped me. Maybe I shouldn't share this so openly. And then up on the floor, my daughter Allison actually took the dog to greet some other people while I spent some time with my dad. And it brought joy to the whole floor, even the nurses station.
Yeah.
Like no one was going to bat us out because they got this moment of connection and this moment of, I guess, consolation, right? Comfort, just from the presence of the animals.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, ladies, I hate to draw this conversation to a close. It's so very exciting.
I have one burning question, though.
Okay, one burning question, and then we have a minute left for each of them to talk about one last
I'll ask
question.
it really quick.
Okay.
Because I was thinking and going into this, like I do know a lot of people who have gotten dogs through COVID puppies, as you call them. If you had one quick piece of advice, what would it be?
It's a good question.
To help people, because I am, like, for me, the dog lover, I worry about these dogs who are well loved and it's great, everybody's home, it's all good, great, happy, but at some point people are going to go back to work and these poor dogs are going to be so anxious. What could dog owners do today to help minimize that anxiety down the road when they go back to work?
I think too, it's leaving them alone for a short period of time, even if you're going on a walk without them, going to the store without them, just getting them used to it. I'm a big believer in crate training because the crates are like their bedroom, their safety zone. And when they're in there, they know they've got no responsibility. So that's one of the things we've been really talking about. Or even just having, if you're not a person that crates, but having some space in the house where they're okay to just be on their own, to be independent. But yes, I definitely think, just making sure that they are okay when you aren't home. And that's where people have been calling us with the daycare. They bring in them just maybe once a week or something, just so the dogs are used to being away with them. But I do think if you're home with them and you're with them 24/7, make sure that you get them used to you not being there all the time.
That's a very good question, Lisa.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad we
Thank you
squeezed
for
that
indulging
one
me.
in. That was awesome. Okay, so we have one question left for the two of you, and you have a minute each, and we just want to ask each of you what you are doing during COVID for your own self-care to keep your bodies moving. We'll start with you, Kate, if you want to jump in first.
So my favorite thing to do, and it has been true for horses or for dogs, is to go hiking in the forest. Yeah. So I really try to prioritize getting out of the house, into the woods with the dogs, and hiking. So going to new places, exploring new paths, and just getting a chance to absorb the fresh air.
Awesome.
And even if it's little, 5 minutes, I'm going to get groceries. I can swing by Shepherd's Bush, which happens to be the conservation area near our house, and I can spend 45 minutes. So I try to prioritize that, and I try to prioritize getting out of the house with the dogs every single day.
Yay. And I love doing that with Kate. We take the path together sometimes too. So.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's the best.
How about you, Corey?
So I've been running this business for the last year, and I'm there 6:30 in the morning till 7 at night and training and everything. So what I have made sure recently is, one, to take some time out. But the one thing I do always do is go back for when we do walk the dogs, because we do walk the dogs at the daycare. So I'm making sure I get out because it's my opportunity to bond with the dogs in our care and to take them out to get some fresh air. And then I also do the hiking too, which is really important.
Okay, so do you just sometimes sit in the middle of your daycare and just let the dogs all come over and lick your face?
I would too.
I do every day. I love my dogs.
That's what I would be doing.
I mean, and you know what? I'm just in the process of writing something out to the clients for our 1-year anniversary. And I think, with the COVID, we feel so blessed that we've had these dogs in our care because it's giving us a purpose to go somewhere every day. And what better way to spend your day other than with cute little puppies or dogs? And they all have a wonderful personality. We all know their personalities. And it's just so rewarding every single day.
Amazing. Well, we're going to put links to all of your resources and your websites in the episode notes. Okay. We want to thank both of you ladies for joining us and for brightening up our days, because everybody could use a little bit of puppy talk. And
for sure.
Thank you for sharing. It was great to have you on.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great one.
Yeah, and Corey, you're going to be so busy.
Okay, bye,
Thank you, ladies.